Hello everyone, my name's Яма. Тупые американцы до сих пор думают, что я говорю по-русски, когда на самом деле я просто использую Google переводчик. Most people are unaware that knowing 20% of the Russian vocabulary and grammar will let you understand about 80% of the language. And in this video, we'll be going over that exact 20%. I know this comes as a surprise to a lot of the Americans, but there are actually many countries in the world that don't use the English alphabet. And Russian is one of them. If you're a complete beginner, the alphabet is exactly where you should start. And trust me, it's not as intimidating as it may seem. The alphabet contains 33 letters. Some are the same as American, some are completely different. I've already made a video introducing you to the alphabet, so go watch it. And then go practice with an app like Duolingo that gamifies the boring memorization part about it. And once you've memorized the alphabet this way, you can go delete the app because it's kind of useless and riddled with ads these days. Once you're familiar with the alphabet, we can start to learn what all these goofy looking letters mean together. Vocabulary is probably the most important indicator that someone is comfortable in a language, and unfortunately, most of the vocabulary we'll learn in the classroom is pretty useless. Instead, what I want you to do is to go on your phone, download any flashcard app on the App Store, find a pre-made deck that has 500 of the most commonly used Russian words, and then go practice them on your own time. The reason this is important is because knowing these 500 words will let you understand about 80% of all Russian. Simple words like имя, сегодня, хорошо, год, достопримечательность are words you will hear a lot more in contrast to the uncommon ones like рентген or я тебя люблю. Alongside these 500 words, you should also start to practice sentences that are very specific to you. For example, here are the ones that I recommend you learn. My name is Peter and I am from America. Меня зовут Питер, и я из Америки. I started learning Russian because I like Russian people. Я начал изучать русский язык, потому что мне нравятся русские мужчины. For work, I am an engineer. По работе я инженер. And if you want to get better at speaking in Russian, then do the following as well. In English, record yourself speaking for 5 minutes. Talk about your day or tell me a story, I don't care. But use your own words. Now, listen back to that audio and take note of your specific vocabulary. What phrases did you naturally resort to? Did you use the word etc. multiple times? How many times did you say the word like or Now take those phrases and words and translate them into Russian. And don't use Google Translate for the actual phrases. Just Google the phrases themselves. And what you should have now is a list of vocabulary that is specifically tailored to you. Take those words and phrases, put them into a flashcard deck, and start practicing them as well. When you speak a language, your brain will naturally resort to the phrases and words that you're most comfortable with. And if you already know those words in Russian, speaking will be a lot easier down the line. That aside, if you want to learn a lot of Russian words very quickly, I'd also recommend that you learn some patterns as well. For example, a lot of Russian words end with this goofy looking suffix "ция", like in the word ситуация, организация, иммиграция. You'll notice that when you translate these words into English, all of them end with the same ending, shun. So that if you're familiar with this pattern and you see this Russian word, you'll instantly know it'll have the same ending. A similar looking pattern can be seen with the ending "sia", like in the word профессия, сессия, агрессия. Again, if you translate all these words into English, they'll all have the same ending, shun. The more of these little patterns you're able to recognize, the more words you'll know. And by the way, anytime you see both of these examples in the real world, you'll know that the noun will always be feminine. So there's another reason to go learn patterns. Now, knowing a lot of vocabulary will help you build a strong foundation in Russian, but in order to actually speak the language, we'll have to know a little bit about grammar laws. Luckily for us, Russian grammar is super simple and not a single American has ever struggled with learning it. Jokes aside, people love to complain that Russian grammar is incredibly difficult, but I truly believe that it doesn't have to be that way. In order to not get overwhelmed, I'm going to teach you the most basic and simple grammar laws that'll give you the most bang for your buck. First and foremost, you should know that Russian has a very flexible sentence structure. What this means is saying something like, "You're my friend," can also be reworded to, "My friend, you are." or friend of mine you are, and will all mean exactly the same thing. Next thing you should know is that Russian words have gender, meaning that the word for dog, собака, is feminine, and that the word for dog, пёс, is masculine. Who came up with that? The general rule of thumb is that if a word ends in a consonant, it's masculine. If it ends in a or a ya, it's feminine. And if it ends in a o or ye, it's neutral. There are obviously going to be exceptions like the word mужчина, which means a man. It ends in an a, but it's masculine for some reason. You're just going to have to learn all the little exceptions. I'm sorry, that's the way it is. The next grammar rule I want to talk about is something called the emphasis, where there's stress placed on the individual vowels of a word. For example, if you take the word pisать, which means to write in Russian, you'll notice that the emphasis is placed on the a. Pisать, pisать. But if we take the emphasis and we move it from the a to the e, you'll get the word писать. Are you able to hear the difference? Pisать, писать, pisать. Pisać. The pronunciation is different, and the meaning is different. It now means to piss. To make this easier, there are many patterns we can learn, like for example the letter yo, which anytime you see it in the word, will always have the emphasis placed on it. Overall, my recommendation is that when you learn a new word, you should also learn where the emphasis is placed on it. It'll just make everything easier in the long run. Next, let's talk about Russian cases, everyone's favorite subject. Cases are basically where the endings of words changes based on the context of the sentence. In total, there are 6 cases, but I would recommend that you learn these 2 first, the nominative and the accusative. They are by far the most common. Nominative is for things that are receiving an action. For example, the student studies. Студент учится. The dog sleeps. Собака спит. Accusative is for when things are receiving an action. So for example, я веду машину. I'm driving a car. The car is receiving the action. Cases low-key suck, but I still think that you should learn them. And for the other 4 that we haven't talked about, here's the order that I would recommend you learn them in, from most common to least common. And now for grammar, I quickly want to talk about how to speak in the past and how to speak in the future, because it's very common as well. To speak in the past, it's pretty simple. We take any verb, remove the ending, so the T and the soft consonants, and then you replace it with any of the suffixes from this table. Now, you're speaking in the past. I spoke, you spoke, we spoke. Я говорил, ты говорил, мы говорили. Now, we're going to speak in the future, which is also pretty simple. All we need to do is take the word will be. So, I will be, you will be, we will be. Я буду, ты будешь, мы будем. Then, insert any verb you want afterwards. For example, I will talk, you will talk, we will talk. Я буду говорить, ты будешь говорить, мы будем говорить. That last verb doesn't change at all. Pretty simple, right? Okay, real talk. As an American, Russian can seem as this unconquerable mountain looming in the distance, but I truly believe that it doesn't have to be this way. If you take the time now to master the basics of grammar and vocabulary, you'll be monumentally ahead of any traditional classroom learner. Okay, wait, I actually almost completely forgot the most useful tip I have for learning Russian. Essentially, there's this golden rule where anytime you see